Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Taylor Barker. I'm the program director for the Minnesota-based chapter of the Society of Broadcast Engineers. We want to thank everyone for joining us. This is an excellent presentation that we're all looking forward to. We hope that we can all learn quite a bit from today, but also that this format, as unique as it is, might give us something to jump off of for future meetings. So with that in mind, please keep the questions in the chat window if possible, but you also have my email address for backup measure, taylor.r.barker@gmail.com. With that, let's hand things over to our speakers and get things started. Dana, Chris, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Taylor. We really appreciate the chance to be here to bring you this really interesting presentation that Chris has put together. And Chris is going to kick it off. He is our newest Midwest sales representative at Cablecast Community Media. And we have a lot of great information to bring to you guys.
Midwest lives in Connecticut, but in from the East Coast. So good morning, I'm Chris Morgan. Been with Cablecast since March of last year. How many of you are familiar with some of our products? I know CJ you are. Great, we got a lot of great interest. So for those of you that are not familiar with Cablecast, I'll give you kind of the Cliff Notes version. So we've been around since 1997. Been in the business for over 25 years and serve over 1,200 cities, counties, states, and public media centers to distribute their content anywhere and everywhere people view it. So OTT apps, websites, cable playback, all of the above. We're all about efficiency of workflows, being flexible, having remote access to all of your items, and being simple for the viewers to access content as well. So the environment we all operate in is constantly changing. Thinking back to the analog days with tape, now everything is digital. We're all working with video files, computers, servers. So we've evolved with that. Some of our older systems obviously would control tape decks. Now we work with video servers, and all of our content is digital. So we're able to do a lot more with a lot less hardware, which is timed correctly with declining franchise fees and specifically the public access realm. So we've got a lot of cool protocols and use cases that we're going to talk about today. One of the ones I want to highlight is one of our friends to the north in Hibbing, Minnesota, HPAT. They actually pioneered some of our newest technology during the COVID pandemic using a lot of IP-based workflows. So having the ability to use our RTMP service to access remote and virtual meetings during the COVID pandemic. So IP workflows provide a great deal of advantages over more legacy technology. They're very flexible and scalable, so as you need to expand the capacity of your system, you can easily do that with existing infrastructure. They're also very cost effective. We could advance the slide if you want. There we go. So cost efficiency is big, so you don't have to build out very hardware specific equipment, so you can use a lot of existing network infrastructure to deliver content in different places using standard network cables, switches, without any advanced video routers and everything like that. One of the biggest things is remote production capabilities. So having the ability to access your system remotely and be able to bring in content from a remote location very easily without using expensive satellite trucks, microwave trucks, and using the public internet. Also allows you to improve resource sharing and collaboration. So a lot of our users will actually share their streams and content with other stations all over the region. We actually have a division called PEG Media that's a content exchange for media all over the country and all over the world, really. So that's a huge advantage of working with IP. You can also enhance quality and capacity. So using the existing backbone of your network, you could scale up the capacity of a network that could be used for more than just video content. It's not necessarily dedicated anymore. It also works with a lot of IT-based technologies, including cloud services, data analytics, and advanced media management, which we'll talk about a little more detail after. A lot of the infrastructure behind it using standard IT protocols leads to easier maintenance and quicker troubleshooting. And the most important piece of all this is future-proofing. So building out IP networks versus dedicated video signals back and forth can adapt to as resolutions advance. You need more content delivered. You need to add more live streams, add signal paths. You could use existing infrastructure for that, and it saves a lot of money in the long run.
Hey, Chris, we
Yeah.
have a lot of people checking in on the chat right now. It looks like we have some people checking in from Chicago, Madison, Wisconsin, Detroit.
Great.
I'm curious if anybody is currently using any IP-based workflows. So if you are, please put it in the chat. We'd love to hear about what you are implementing, and
Yeah.
so we can see if we can riff off that a little bit too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so continue.
Yeah, so the example that I was talking about before, HPAT in Hibbing, Minnesota, they use a multi-camera PTZ setup similar to this to produce their live coverage of their city council. They're using a Tightrope Cablecast automation system to deliver that to their cable viewers, but they're also using web streaming, OTT apps, and our RTMP service to bring content in from virtual meetings on platforms like Zoom. So this is our Cablecast RTMP system. So you can actually stream content either from a remote encoder or products like Zoom, WebEx, some of the other virtual meeting platforms. Stream into our RTMP server, pull that back down onto your VIO to go out on cable, web, and OTT, but you can also break streams out for other platforms like Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So it's kind of like a one in, many out, and be able to deliver those signals to multiple places very inexpensively too. And it's a very simple setup, so it doesn't require a lot of advanced network configuration for that. So prior to using RTMP and IP streams, HPAT was using a lot of HDMI to SDI converters, a lot of routers, very baseband video, even with a NewTek TriCaster. Now they're able to use NDI and send all that content through the existing network. So it simplifies their setup tremendously. I think we had a couple of pictures of them working on it. So this is actually their website. This is our live and video on demand page that's built into all of our systems that use web video. This is their live feed page, so you can see their live feed there on the left. It's a 24-hour simulcast of their cable channel. And on the right side is the upcoming schedule. And a cool thing about this too is if any of the content that's in the schedule upcoming has video on demand enabled, you could just click on that link and it takes you right to the full video. Or if what's playing has it as well. So our systems actually stream using HLS, which is a protocol developed by Apple that provides very smooth streaming, and it's very error redundant. So it's doesn't require a lot of buffering. It'll kind of pick up the pieces if you ever have any sort of internet interruptions, and it's scalable based on the resolution that you're sending. So our systems actually have adaptive bit rate. So if you have a weaker internet connection, say you're watching on a cell phone, it's going to bring in a lower resolution stream automatically so it plays smoothly. So this is the setup in Hibbing. So you can see their TriCaster in City Hall there, and then the one in their studio. So the next use case that I want to talk about is one of our newest protocols that's built into our system. It's called SRT, Secure Reliable Transport. A lot of you are probably familiar with this. Basically designed for a lot of backhaul video transmission over the open internet. It can kind of correct itself if there's on unreliable networks. So there's a lot of good advantages to this. And we pioneered and kind of launched this with last year's National Alliance for Community Media's conference in Brooklyn. They do a program called the Hometown Media Awards that Dana hosted at our meeting back in June. So we actually took the feed of that program from Brick Media Arts, which is Brooklyn's Community Access Center, and they fed us the signal into AJA Hilo. We were using SRT to stream that content up to a VIO stream server in Portland, Maine, and then out to viewers on our OTT app that we developed for the program. Stations all over the country were also able to take in that HLS stream from that VIO server and put it out on their cable channels all over the country. So our VIO stream server is actually just our web-only unit. So some applications don't actually have a cable channel. The VIO stream is going to do all the functionality of our traditional servers without cable playback. So this is going to be live streaming, video on demand, and OTT apps, for those that aren't familiar with that. These are actually the viewership metrics and breakdown of the different platforms that people viewed that stream on back in June of last year. As you could see, the mobile apps accounted for just under the majority of it. And I would say it probably is the majority because some of the computer category are actually other automation servers pulling that signal in and broadcasting it on local cable channels. So we got a lot of great reach and feedback from that. So how many of you or have heard of SRT or using SRT so far? Great. So there's a lot of great advantages to using SRT. Here's a few of them on our next slide. That's low latency. It has a lot of error correction over unreliable networks. It's secure. Most importantly, it's open source and it's free. So it's accessible on a lot of different platforms. Very relatively simple setup. And it helps reduce cost of transmission. So it kind of replaces, in some cases, the back end of like a satellite truck or a microwave truck. So let's talk about our OTT apps. So at Cablecast, we have a lot of different options for OTT. We offer apps on up to 5 OTT platforms. Those are Apple TV, Fire TV, Roku, iOS, so iPhones and iPads, and then Android mobile. We offer custom apps on all those, as well as we have a free Cablecast app that is free to download. If you haven't downloaded it, I would definitely check it out. I think we have a picture of it here. So this is one of my favorite things about the products we have, because if you download this app, you can actually watch content from all over the country. Mm-hmm. We have over 360 stations across the country that are using our cloud service called Reflect, which includes listing on this app. So you can actually get onto all 5 OTT platforms and be part of this app and watch some of your neighboring stations, kind of check out what they're doing. It's really cool for collaboration as well.
So Chris, because we travel a lot to go visit a lot of our customers and end users. I like when going to a new place, I pull up this app and it geolocates all the different people of the stations close to me. So as I travel, being a PEG nerd, I like to look up things and see kind of what people have next to you. So it'll change depending on where your location is. So that's always great to check out. Yeah,
that's cool to see what stations are neighboring you too.
I'd also be curious if other people are using OTT apps or if it's something that they're working towards. So if anybody on the chat wants to communicate that, we'd love to hear about it.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about some of the advantages of our software and others like it. So the ability to work on the go is huge. So all of our software is web browser based. It's browser agnostic. It doesn't require any site licenses. You can have as many users as you like, and you can access it anywhere. So you can actually program your station from your cell phone, your iPad, a laptop, anywhere on the go. So it allows you to be very flexible. So if you're doing a remote broadcast on location, you can actually control your schedule from there as long as you have Wi-Fi connection, and be able to manage your entire channel anywhere and everywhere you go.
It's really helpful for working from home too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Big thing following the pandemic as well. We're kind of not tied down to one location anymore, so everything's kind of on the go and at home. So we'll talk about one of our best features that I'm going to show you kind of a demo of our software a little bit in a few minutes, but this one is one that's not all that visually appealing to look at from within the software because it's more acts behind the scenes, but it's extremely powerful and useful. This is a feature called our Smart Asset Manager. So basically what it does is if you've ever used a system where you've got some older content, every once in a while you got to kind of go through and clean out the filing cabinet, purge old content to save space on your drive, this is going to do all that for you. So this will actually automate cleaning up your program drive, doing automated backups, archiving content, by being able to connect your Cablecast system to a network attached file share. So we can set up rules that, say, for example, you've got a city council meeting you're taping every month. A couple months down the road that hasn't aired in 30 to 60 days, you can set a threshold where after that certain amount of time where it hasn't been played back in any way, it's going to purge that content, archive it to your network drive, and delete it from the program drive to save space. But it also maintains your video on demand file and your show record stays intact. So if you wanted to go back, say there was something we wanted to reference in that meeting and you want to go back and schedule it, the Smart Asset Manager is going to go locate that file, bring it back, and play it out. So there's no retrieval of that media content. It's all automated. So it really saves you time in media management. You can also automate just duplicate backups. as well as expand the capacity of your VOD storage. So this is another feature that we can actually show an example of. Our auto scheduling rules, and I hope
A lot of time.
it does. I'm hoping I'm doing Kayla justice. Kayla's on our support team. She is our auto scheduling expert. So if I mess up, I'm sorry, Kayla, but I learned it all from her. Our auto schedule rules, she is a former programmer of a station in Massachusetts and used auto schedule for like 90% of their schedule. So this is where you have series and programs that are recurring at a regular interval. So say, for example, that city council meeting you have every first and third Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock. You can create a rule that's going to have it automatically schedule on your channel for that live feed, schedule the recording. You can schedule closed captioning of it, and then have it automatically save it into the system, create a VOD file, and then you have another rule that will schedule it into different reruns throughout the week. It's really, really powerful. It saves you a lot of time for anything that's recurring. It's really, really a great feature.
Do a lot of you have the same schedule every week with certain time slots where content goes in? Yeah, so it's definitely a time saver.
Yeah, this eliminates the whole copy and paste thing of it. So you can just, without having to create new programs, it's going to do it all for you in the background. So spending an extra 10 minutes to set this up is going to save you dozens of hours going forward.
Just drop in the new show. It says, hey, that's the top search result in that
Yep.
save search, and it schedules it.
Yeah, it's really, it really is really a cool feature. Saves a ton of time. So the Cablecast Vio is kind of our flagship product. It's our playback server. We've got a few different flavors of it. We have our Vio Lite, which is in the picture here. That's our base model unit that has 2 IOs. So it's got a record channel and a playout channel, basically designed for that single channel operator. It has 8 terabytes of RAID storage, and it's a nice 1RU format. We also have units that have RAID storage, up to 40 terabytes if needed, as well as servers that have up to 4 channels. So the operator that's running, say, all letters of the PEG, you can do it all in one box, our Vio 4. We also have systems for video on demand and live streaming. So that kind of goes over the gist of it. If we can open up to questions, if there's any specifics we want to talk about, I can also go into some of our software if you like. Yeah.
I'll fire off one just from back here. If I recall correctly, I bumped into you folks at the NAB show a couple of years ago. What do you have in mind for this year's appearance?
That's more of a Dana question than me, really.
So so right now our 7.7 update is coming out. So we are going to be showing off the Cablecast Translate product. So we have closed captionings, and now this particular product will be able to translate those in up to 72 different languages for video on demand and 6 for live. So we'll be showing that off. We're also going to be showing off full text search. So this is going to be part of our Reflect Plus product, where a big thing that we want to work towards is to continue to make content more accessible for PEG stations, for viewers, for cities. And full text search does that in a lot of different ways. It dovetails nicely with closed captioning, but it also, like, instead of going through a 4-hour city council meeting, I can look up, okay, I just want to know what's going on with Hickory Court and the construction around that, and it's going to pull it right up to the bookmark. So that's something that we will be showing off as well.
Everyone feel free to keep sending questions in via email or chat. Just out of interest, what sort of demographic would you say that you draw in customer-wise? What sort of industry is your bigger customer? Is it limited to public access stations? Are there universities chipping in, et cetera?
Awesome. Thanks for that question, Taylor.
Yeah.
So our biggest growing market right now is government entities from the city and state and county level. But our actually, government is probably more than PEG at this point. We also serve residential communities, senior citizen communities, 55-plus communities that have closed-circuit television stations. We call them resident communities, but also prisons, forest residents. So we also serve them as well, and that is a growing segmentation.
We do have some colleges and universities that use our product as well. I think it's Harding University actually uses us for a lot of their athletics. So they're always one of our highest bandwidth users on Reflect of delivering all their, I think they're a Division III school. They use us to stream their football games, basketball games, baseball games. And so in the summer, their usage kind of drops off. There's no students there, but all their athletic events are available on their custom OTT app. So, you know, parents that have kids that go to the school, or, you know, aunt and uncle that are out of town, they can watch that content anywhere they want. We do have a lot of high schools and community schools as well that are running perhaps the E channel of a PEG, a community access operation. So they've a lot of used that for, you know, concerts, athletics, school programs, things like that.
So I'm curious, we have, you know, everybody kind of plugged in here. There's probably a really unique landscape that broadcast engineers are experiencing right now. I'd love to hear the different challenges that people are going through. So if people want to share it in here or from our live audience here, I'd love to hear some specific landscape changes and challenges you're experiencing as a broadcast engineer.
A little bit of stage fright in the room at the moment.
Where do I start? But I'm kind of not in that line anymore. As a longtime broadcast engineer who's now basically an archivist of media, broadcast and other media, the sea change is, from my perspective, has been enormous over the last 20 years alone. I cannot envision, sometimes it's difficult to get my head wrapped around what you can do just with what you just presented today. I'm thinking of my former life in the military when I was with Navy Broadcasting, and all the bases and the service members we serve through various radio and television stations. I can't imagine what they're doing now, again, because I've retired so long ago, but you talk about a sea change, all the equipment you're talking about could fit in one little box, whereas we used to have to ship a whole Connex container of stuff, 2 or 3, to, you know, do the same material. So that's what I see as a big change and a big challenge. And as a broadcast engineer, it's so consolidated from what it used to be years and years ago. It's
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
It is incredible. I haven't been involved with it as long as you have, but even seeing from linear edit decks and satellite trucks and everything, and now it's this one RU server that does everything in one box, right? It is mind-blowing. Our engineers always amaze me, and that's one of the things I like being part of this company is, like, there's always new technology. Stuff like that just gets me excited about new tech. So it's a lot of fun.
While we wait for any other questions to drop by, just look ahead for us a little bit. What sort of things do you expect to pop up? What sort of demographics or industries do you want to break into? I guess I hadn't considered the prison angle, but that makes sense in the sense of it being a captive audience of sorts.
Well,
That's true.
They need TV too. So we are really focusing on the government segmentation right now and the continued accessibility of the content there. So additional markets, like we still, you know, we know who took us to the dance. So that's the PEG stations, that's the government cities, and so we want to continue to serve them. And one thing that Cablecast is really proud about is I was a user for many years, and it was the accessibility to the company. Like, well, CJ's right here, he's in the audience, and they're beta testers. Hey, I want to see this feature. I need this improvement. And that, like, we will continue to carry that forward with the products that we make. So I think that's a really important distinction of what we're doing.
I mean, so many of our, I would say more than half the company all came from public access or PEG in some capacity, including our CEO,
Yep.
our founder.
Yeah.
We all have a background in PEG. I ran a station in Connecticut for the last 10 years up until about this time last year that served 9 towns, and we were a Cablecast user expanding into OTT apps and all that fun stuff. So most of my background's in public media, both that and PBS. But
We'll just throw out one last call for questions in the meantime. While we wait for that to wrap up, why don't you give us your contact information one more time if folks want to get a hold of you?
Sure. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. My email is dana.healy@cablecast.tv. Please reach out. I'd love to chat, just as if you're a user, if you're interested in learning more about stuff. If you'd like to see something different, please give me a call.
yeah, mine is chris.morgan@cablecast.tv, also on LinkedIn. And I wish I could memorize my phone number, but I always have to look at my business card anyway, which I can. I'll give it to you now. You can call me anytime. It's 612-464-9449.
Awesome. And we
Everybody got
really
speed dial
appreciate
now.
the opportunity here. And thank you so much for inviting us.
I want to thank all the other chapters for joining us over these last few minutes, and want to thank everyone for participating via chat. We hope that we can continue doing this for time to come, so please reach out to us here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, if you had any questions or thoughts or things you want to see differently going forward. So thank you all very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, everyone.